Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Tuesday, May 25th, 2021, and today I'm going to be talking about Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene from the state of Georgia and her preposterous and disgusting comparisons for the mask mandates to the Holocaust, for vaccination requirements to the subjugation of Jewish people in the Holocaust. Things that she has, compared are absolutely horrifying as an elected official, and her representing even a subsection of the Republican Party is something that I believe needs to be dealt with now. There is no time to even consider keeping her in her positions, or not necessarily in her positions, but in a position of power within the GOP. Because the House of Representatives has stripped her from most of her power, she still holds a large voice amongst the Republican Party. She has pretty much consistently pushed these claims of election fraud, even wearing a mask in the image in front of you that says Trump won. But none of her statements have really gone this far into the media where she has been vilified as much as she has been over the past day. The statements that she has made are absolutely insane to think about. In one of her statements, you can actually read her quote here. She says that, in referring to Nancy Pelosi asking that the House members get vaccinated and wear a mask, she says that, we can look back in time in history where people were told to wear a gold star, and they were definitely treated like second-class citizens, so much that they were put in trains and taken to gas chambers in Nazi Germany. And this is exactly the type of abuse that Nancy Pelosi is talking about. End quote. What is she talking about? This is strange behavior. This is horrifying behavior to have the idea of the Holocaust be compared to the mask mandates and the vaccination requirements amongst elected officials that aren't even necessarily required but recommended by Nancy Pelosi is horrifying to think about. Marjorie Taylor Greene doubled down on this in her own tweets, stating that vaccinated employees getting a vaccination logo is just like the Nazis' forced requirements of Jewish people to wear a gold star. This tweet is still up. You can find this on her Twitter page. This is absolutely disgusting to think about, and the fact that the Republican Party only now is condemning her really is something that is alarming. Because Kevin McCarthy is still saying, this is a bad statement, that clearly is not enough. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a virus to the Republican Party because her claims and the consistency of them are really driving the party into a very negative light amongst the American public. There is a reason why the Democratic Party holds a higher favorability rating amongst Americans than the Republican Party. The Republicans like to pinpoint Representative AOC or other representatives in the squad and compare them to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Well, the situation is one of these people is asking for free health care, and the other is comparing the Holocaust to mask mandates. You may try to call them both extreme, but one is clearly so far off the edge compared to the other. And that's not even a partisan statement to make. You don't see Representative AOC making these types of comparisons. This is truly bad for democracy. What Marjorie Taylor Greene is completely captivating the media through her preposterous claims and comparisons, but this is not good. This is not some type of revelation that the House Republicans are condemning her. This is nothing new. And it's honestly painful to see that she has such a major role in the Republican Party today. She may not have power amongst the establishment, but the people that she speaks to and the people that know her are where that impact is coming from. She is driving the extremists on the right even further to the right. And I don't know why anyone is surprised. When she first was elected and inaugurated, we found videos of her essentially going after David Hogg, a survivor of the Parkland shooting. This was a very horrible thing, and the fact that this was only the beginning is really alarming because her claims, her comparisons, everything should have been, not necessarily surprising. We knew this was going to come. Something else was going to come up. When you have someone who came and called David Hogg little, and I'm not going to say his name, but that guy, I'm not saying the name for the sake of YouTube not catching it, but thinking about the way that Marjorie Taylor Greene is using her representative position, her elected office, to push these claims of election fraud, to compare the mask mandate to the Holocaust, and to continue to believe in many of the things that she believed in. This video from March 2019, you can see that she follows him and pushes these conspiracy theories, referring to him as a coward. You're taking someone in a position who, a little over a year from when she followed him, took an experience, a horrific one, and spoke on it, and is now calling him a coward. Called him a coward. These videos where she publicly posted these. I mean, she was proud in what she believed in. This was not some scenario in which she spoke to a friend, sources say, sources close to Marjorie Taylor Greene. No, she published videos of herself doing this. How horrible do you have to be to go after someone in such a vulnerable position? Why is this the way that she expresses her beliefs? Why does she go after a teenager who survived a school shooting to push these conspiracy theories? And to go so far now as to make these comparisons. It's absolutely horrifying. And you might be thinking, well, why don't the voters just vote her out? She's from Georgia. Shouldn't she be from an area where Democrats can organize and get her out? The answer is no. This is her election result in the 2020 election. And I'll show you why, and you just saw briefly the Senate election results, why this rhetoric doesn't work. And why this rhetoric needs to be completely expunged from the GOP altogether. Because I can tell you now, she's probably not alone in some of her beliefs. She's just the only one bold enough to say it. And for Marjorie Taylor Greene in her district, look at these numbers. 74.6% of voters backed her. 229,000 people cast a ballot in the 14th district saying they were voting for Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is a northern Georgia district. You're talking about an area that's separated from the city, large in population in the district because they are all supposed to be drawn fairly within population. But looking at the 14th congressional district, it's very much rural. It's very much separated from traditional Atlanta or Savannah or other parts of Georgia that are traditionally Democratic. That's why the Democrat got just 1 in 4 voters across the entire district with over 300,000 votes. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not going to be voted out as long as this district is drawn in such a way, which it will be because Republicans have control of the district. She is going to be in a very safe position. And because her district is so pro-Republican, she won't be primaried either. The Democratic Party realistically doesn't have a chance. I've seen some candidates send out political ads, and while those ads are some of the best I've seen, they aren't going to make a difference in a district so partisan. This is not some Alabama Senate type of Hail Mary for the Democratic Party. Marjorie Taylor Greene simply isn't going to be voted out because she's responding to the voters that elected her in the first place. Her claims are approved of by many of her constituents, and that's the worrying thing. Because amongst the American electorate, she could never win on the national level. You would be talking about a landslide victory for a Democrat had she become that Republican nominee. But because there is that subsection of the GOP that backs her, she's going to continue leading them. As much as the House wants to strip her of her committee assignments, that won't do much as long as she has this outreach. And she would have that outreach, but wouldn't have it nearly as much if she was a voting delegate in the House, or if she had some type of power. You know, it is very unheard of for representatives to be ousted from their positions through an overwhelming supermajority vote in the House. It doesn't happen. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think, should be an exception. It's not partisan to say what she is stating is clearly false. It's horrible to make these characterizations. Kevin McCarthy condemning them, but that isn't enough. And in terms of her rhetoric expanding on to future elections, this is what happens when you have Marjorie Taylor Greene campaigning with you. This is what happens when you back her and have her back you and you celebrate her endorsement through a political ad or through Twitter. You know, when you use social media as a means of winning over voters, and a lot of the GOP strategy in Georgia's Senate runoff elections was inspiring Trump voters, but it turned away even more than they inspired. To have some of these Republicans understand that you are the same ideology as Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, to have this endorsement and flaunt it will certainly turn away some voters that might be otherwise not too opposed to voting for you. If you're looking at the Georgia shift you can see exactly how detrimental this rhetoric, this further right-wing rhetoric has been for the Republican Party in Georgia. They started off this century with 11.7% victory in Georgia, leading on to a 17.1 in 2004. 2008, it was still 5 points. 2012, it expanded to 8 points. 2016, 5 points. And then 2020 rolls around. You take a state that went by 5 points to Trump, going to Biden. You find the first Democratic victory from 1992 with a brand new strategy from the Trump campaign, and you double down on it? The GOP's reluctance to strip her of all of her power, to have everyone on the right condemn her, is astounding. Because she is a virus to the Republican Party. She is someone who is going to bring them down. Tweet after tweet after tweet. This is not even the most extreme tweet she has sent out. It might be the most alarming, but she has said things of very similar caliber. Just this time, the media is taking it to a whole nother level, as they should be. Because this is a statement that cannot be from a representative. I really don't care if your constituents want you to say it or if they approve of you of saying it. You are a representative of the United States. You are supposed to be here. You are supposed to represent ideologies across the board. And while you may be a Republican does not necessarily mean you have to be this far off the edge, that you have to make these statements. And I am personally alarmed that she is still being backed. And I'm not surprised that she's being backed by Matt Gaetz. I think that the scandal and the sex trafficking I shouldn't have said that, but the issues with Matt Gaetz that have been surrounding his representative status and what he has been supposedly doing, these are things that I will say I am not surprised Matt Gaetz is backing her. But he's not the only one. You have a representative who's considering running for Senate in Arizona backing her. You have other people that are in the House retweeting her tweets, liking her tweets, going to rallies with her. I don't understand it. I've never understood why she has captivated this portion of the base, but she has. And that is extremely scary. And if you're looking at the way that the American public views Marjorie Taylor Greene, of the 52% of Americans, meaning the majority of Americans have heard of her or have an opinion of her, 37% of them view her unfavorably. So if you were to extrapolate this, if you were to apply this to the national numbers, you would be seeing 74% of the public saying, I don't like Marjorie Taylor Greene. And then you would be seeing, the remaining say, okay, I have a somewhat favorable view of her. I think that 74%, it'd probably be down to 70% to 30. It would probably be 70 to 30 at that point. But the fact that nearly 1 in 3 Americans would have a favorable view of her, and 1 in 3 of those who know her and have an opinion of her have a favorable view of her, that's alarming as well. Her rhetoric is here because under scrutiny, because it seems extreme. And it is extreme. I'm not going to deny that. But because it is extreme, she has grabbed on to a subsection of the Republican Party and is moving them with her towards even more right-wing positions. These auditors that are looking in Arizona and Georgia for remnants of bamboo to see if ballots were shipped in from China. Think about what that is rooted in. Think about where that conspiracy theory arrived. Think about the looking for watermarks, as if the printing companies that were forging these ballots supposedly would leave their watermark on it in case that they wanted to get more. It's weird to see how some of these conspiracy theories have gone so far down and how a number of Americans specifically, and I'm not going to say this because I want this to be a partisan thing, because I think she should be reprimanded from both sides vehemently. But amongst Republicans, Marjorie Taylor Greene has a significantly higher approval rating. The belief in the claims of election fraud go up exponentially amongst the GOP. Marjorie Taylor Greene is part of this self-reinforcing cycle within her own constituency and members of the Republican Party, where her baseless claims and her extreme claims are ones they respond to and positively respond to. So she sees that and continues it. She's making preposterous claims. They're eating it up. She knows they're eating it up, so she makes more preposterous claims. They eat it up again, and it keeps reinforcing itself. It's a self-reinforcing cycle until someone breaks it. But it can't be broken without one of the two or a strong intervention from the party that Marjorie Taylor Greene represents. It's not just, condemning the statement. It's expelling her from Congress. It's not just sending out a paragraph long and then pivoting to Nancy Pelosi. This is not a pivot or spin situation. You have a representative on your side making a comparison of a mask mandate to the Holocaust. How disgusting, how revolting that a representative does something like this. And that's how Americans are viewing it. And that's exactly why her approval rating, even before this, if you were to expand it to 100% of the electorate, is 30 points. 30% of the American public. Seems high, but that's before these statements. But that still is alarming. All in all, Marjorie Taylor Greene continues to make these statements, continues to send them out, even through her own forms of official social media. Official social media. I mean, on her official house.gov page, she talks about the articles of impeachment against President Joe Biden. At least she's recognizing that he's president. But the things that she is doing, the statements that she is making, are crazy to think about. And it's crazy that they are coming from someone within the United States Capitol. And it's also very fitting that she chooses a picture before they put up the barrier, for very obvious reasons. But all in all, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think the best case for the Republicans is a complete expulsion from Congress and repudiation of everything that she has said, because she only weighs down the GOP. But the unfortunate reality is she was elected in the 14th district, and I think Republicans are going to look at that and say, well, if she was elected, why can't we keep her in? You shouldn't. But they probably will. And she probably won't be in a position where she will be forcibly removed from Congress through primarying or losing an election. The only way she will be out is likely on her own terms. And that is very alarming. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch, and then a playlist for my 2022 midterm election analysis videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later today.